What's going on, everybody? This is the Eh-Ducated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I am joined here by my co-host, your co-host, my best friend. Sometimes I get those mixed around. Andrew Moore, how are you today, kind sir?
Not too bad. Had a pretty good weekend. It was nice and chill. Worked on my car with my dad. So those are good times. You had quite an eventful weekend, sir. What happened to you?
Oh, I don't know. Went to Gatlinburg, rode a mountain roller coaster, got engaged, got some candy. Oh, yeah. I got engaged.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. It was the most terrifying moment of my life. Of course, it was very stressful. Nothing was planned leading up to the event. But she was extremely surprised. She did have an inkling that it might happen, but she really didn't know when or how, or, she wasn't even sure she was thinking on the trip. Mm-hmm. But that's what I did it in front of, a waterfall.
How romantic.
How romantic. And she couldn't muster up the words to say anything in the moment. There was no, oh my God, no like, holy shit, this is happening. And I only got 2 sentences out of my mouth. So it went well. I couldn't pour the champagne after. I had Tourette's and Parkinson's like Andrew over here.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, it was tough. It was nerve-wracking, but it was a lot of fun. The hike was great. Tennessee was great. But now we're back. And I got to watch the Colts win a football game while I was in Tennessee.
Man, you had a pretty good weekend, I'd say.
Yeah. Dude, if the Colts would have lost the football game the day after I got engaged and ruined the mood the rest of the weekend, I'd have been pretty upset.
More bad juju that we'd have to talk about.
My future marriage ruined. Thank God.
Hey, it was another dominating performance by this Colts defense, who I think after at least 3 straight weeks of just fantastic performances, I think we can say that they're for real. This Colts defense is phenomenal in all 3 levels, getting to the quarterback, stopping the run, just being physical and flying to the ball. We've got playmakers in the back end. So overall, it was a good Colts win. I like we said last week, this was we thought our first real test, going up against a Bears team that was, while they hadn't played the best competition, they were still undefeated. They had some good comeback wins, and they weren't to be taken lightly. So overall, I can't wait to get into the game and start talking about the details and the recap. But it was a good win for the Colts. Colts fans could be excited about yesterday.
We can definitely chalk that one up as a good team win.
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
That was a team win or a defensive win.
Team win,
whatever you want to say.
I mean, I think the defense carried us yesterday and
carried us hard.
Oh, yeah. You look at all just looking at the stats, the Colts only allowed 269 total yards, only 28 rushing yards the Bears had yesterday. So that's about as good as you can ask for. Remember when the Colts defense was notorious for giving up just hundreds of yards on the ground, and we couldn't stop anything. And now it looks like we've got one of the best run defenses in the league. So only 28 yards. The Bears were 4 of 14 on 3rd down yesterday. Nick Foles really could never get into a rhythm. The Colts pass rush was forcing him into mistakes, making him throw before he was comfortable. And that's what we saw when the Colts played the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins was doing that. Sam Darnold had to do that. So that's been kind of a consistent theme.
Sure. And real quick, while you're still on Nick Foles never getting a rhythm, the announcers wanted to blame the lack of training camp and the lack of this and the lack of being first string the whole damn time. The defense was pressuring him the whole game. The guy had no time to breathe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, DeForest Buckner was in there. Justin Houston, who had another monster game, was up in there. Danico Autry, Grover Stewart was making plays. And we got to think about this defensive line. We don't even have Kemoko Turay back.
Right.
So Kemoko Turay could come back from the PUP list after the bye week here in a couple weeks against Detroit. So if he can come back and can show those flashes and build upon what we saw last year, this defensive line hasn't even reached its pinnacle of what it's going to look like and how good it's going to be. So I mean, and then like I said, I mean, Justin Houston had a huge game. DeForest Buckner had a huge game. And then what about Julian Blackmon, man?
Dude, he's looking
this kid's a
real
baller.
good.
He's a baller.
Absolute baller.
dude's-
I unfortunately for Malik Hooker, unless he ends up just having to take less money next year, I don't see a bright future. I don't see him being a Colt next year.
It doesn't. If Julian Blackmon continues this kind of play, it seems like that he will kind of supplant Malik Hooker as the free safety of the future for the Colts. He had 3 pass breakups yesterday. He had his first career interception. You saw a couple times when he put that lick on Allen Robinson to jar the ball loose and force an incompletion. He's just all around the ball. And the Colts media was talking to him after the game yesterday, and he said at halftime he had a conversation with Kenny Moore, and Kenny Moore came up to him and said, we need you to be a playmaker. We need you to not really think about it. Just go out there and play football. And he said it kind of settled him in. And in the second half, that's when he really made all of those plays. And you can see every single week Julian Blackmon is getting better and better. And really it's kind of confirming what Chris Ballard said about him in the spring when the Colts first drafted him. They were talking about how they saw him as a legitimate free safety in this league, and the reason he dropped to the 3rd round was because of the injury. They thought he was more of like a 2nd round pick or a high 2nd round pick even. So what a performance by him. I definitely wanted to spotlight him and make sure we give him props, but man, this defense is legit. I can't remember a Colts defense like this in quite some time, and just leading the league in all of these categories. It's new territory for us, honestly.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you said you can't remember. There hasn't been since we've been alive, since they were in Baltimore probably. I think that's the last time we had a Pro Bowl defensive tackle was pre-Indianapolis.
Yes, the last time we had a Pro Bowler at the 3 technique or the defensive tackle position where DeForest Buckner's now,
who by the way also had a great game.
Yeah, he was getting back. He almost had an interception.
We've got him listed. You said that already.
Yeah, but anyways, he's just changed the entire culture of this defense. He's taken on those double teams. It's allowing Justin Houston to go one-on-one, and Justin Houston's getting about a sack every game. It's allowing Darius Leonard and Anthony Walker, Bobby Okereke to make more plays. It allows the corners and the safeties in the secondary be more aggressive, I think, because they're not having to cover as long because the quarterback's got to get rid of the ball. So it's allowing them to really make breaks on the ball. And that's why the Colts lead the league in interceptions with their Julian Blackmon's was the 7th interception for the Colts this year. So it's happening right before our eyes. DeForest Buckner is changing the entire culture of this defense. He is to this defense what Quentin Nelson was to the offensive line when Quentin Nelson was drafted in 2018. It's just a complete culture shift, and it just vaults this team and this unit to a completely different level that we're not used to seeing. And quite frankly, it's what won us the game yesterday. It carried us to that victory and really put us in the position that we are today, where the offense didn't have the greatest game yesterday. They struggled in some parts, some of it their own doing, some of it the Bears, but it really the credit for this one goes to the Indianapolis Colts defense, which is looking like one of the top units in the league.
Absolutely. I think the worst thing we saw with the touchdown was garbage time. Really. I think that was on a rookie, on Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, and Anthony Walker even talked about it, that pissed them off. They weren't happy about giving that up. They wanted to keep it to 3 the rest of the game. And
it was honestly good coverage. But, you're going up against Allen Robinson.
Yeah, but that's the thing. These guys aren't going to settle with just being, okay, well, we played most of the game great, so, that doesn't matter. They're going to take that, and they're going to say, you know what, we still can get better because we want to play that 100% complete game from start to finish where we just physically impose our will on the team and not allow them to even get into the end zone once. And I think that's going to be a goal for the Indianapolis Colts this year is to make it so teams don't even get in the end zone at all. But man, I can't be more happy now. Obviously, we're going to be going up against stiffer competition starting this week in the Cleveland Browns, who have an offense that is clicking on all cylinders pretty much. So it's going to be a big test, but you got to like what you see from this Colts defense and Matt Eberflus's guys.
Especially in you mentioned playing a whole game, and that's been something, oh my God, my whole life. I'm like, can we play both halves? Can we play all 4 quarters? Mm-hmm. In the last 2 weeks, and you could even say the week before that, the Colts defense at least has done that. The offense, not so much, and we'll dig into that here, but in a few minutes, but the defense is all 4 quarters playing good football. It's at least the last few weeks.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Another unit that we really haven't talked too much about, but has been killing it, is the special teams unit. Our boy Hot Rod went 4 for 4 yesterday.
I thought he missed one. I was looking at the TV at a funny angle. I think it was his first one or second one that was almost wide right.
It was close.
Ooh, buddy, I was about to get real fired up.
But he was 4 for 4 yesterday with a long of 44. I think he has so far this year, he has the most field goal attempts and is tied for the most field goals made. So the Hot Rod is doing a pretty good job 4 games into his NFL career. Rigoberto Sanchez, we have another Pro Bowl punter on our hands.
We sure do.
This dude is punting at least a Pro Bowl level. On Sunday was his first punt that was a touchback.
In 62 attempts.
62 attempts. Since last September, I think was what they said. So
absurd.
He's making it so he's got these high hang times. He's putting it in the corners so the guys can't return it, and they're constantly having to start within their own 10-yard line. And it's Frank Reich calls it the hidden yardage that doesn't necessarily show up, but it puts these teams in such bad situations that it leads to turnovers, it leads to punts, and it leads to the Colts safeties that we've been getting, and it leads to the Colts getting great field position on offense. So Rigoberto Sanchez has been doing amazing. And then
I was going to say that one of the games, those hidden yards that was huge to me was the Vikings game. I felt like they were starting every drive deep in their own territory. I've noticed that as well.
Puts them behind the 8 ball. And then Jordan Glasgow, the rookie.
Hey, Jordan Glasgow. Loved it.
Gets a blocked punt. That boy, you got to love his hair too. We don't give that guy's hair enough love. We told everybody,
big hair guys.
We told everybody how he was going to be a special team star, and this guy comes out, and I think
Did we say star?
That's what he was drafted for.
All right.
Chris Ballard said,
I loved it.
Chris Ballard said this guy has the potential to be a Pro Bowler on special teams. And so far, all he's done is come in as a rookie, and he is leading the Colts in special teams tackles, and he's got a block punt in his first 4 games. So great move by Chris Ballard and his staff for drafting him and putting him into a role that they know he can succeed. But man, this special teams unit has been outstanding so far. Quite a far cry of what it was last year, when all it seemed like we were talking about was the kicking game and miscues on special teams and everything. So it's nice to be back to not having to worry about that unit and having it be something we can be proud of as Colts fans as well.
All right, now let's dig into the offense. And before we get started, because this is going to be a brutally well, you hate to see that. You hate to see the microphone come out of the microphone stand. Holy shit. Let's tighten that down. There we go. We're going to be brutally honest today about I'm just dropping everything. About the Indianapolis Colts offense.
Yeah.
Real bad. But I do want to start off by saying this defense is by far the best defense we've played yet this year.
Yes, I would definitely agree on that. It was a new test for us, and we talked about it last week in our preview of the game, that the Colts had performed pretty decent against the Jets and the Vikings, but this defense was kind of on another level. Now last night when I was talking to you about it, I wasn't impressed at all, and I think just kind of us recording the next day, I'm able to calm down a little bit and kind of reassess. Now I'm still think it wasn't great by the offense.
Guys, be glad we didn't record last night. Andrew was, just going to tear into us.
But then again, I have very high standards for my
I do
play
as well. And Phillip Rivers looked like he had a fucking noodle arm yesterday.
So it wasn't great by the offense. Now, you do say that the Bears had definitely have the best defense that we've faced so far, and that's true. However, when you think about it, this offense isn't going to be a high-powered offense per se. It's not going to, and really the last couple weeks, we've had very good games on offense. So to have a little bit of a down week and really to have the defense step up, that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, this Colts offense, I'm not seeing improvement in the areas that I really want to see it. Starting out with red zone efficiency. Again, we had so many trips to the red zone yesterday that could have led to 7 points, and we could have put the Bears away a lot earlier than we did yesterday. not having to constantly rely on the defense to make stops, because they gave us plenty of opportunities, but those red zone trips ended up in 3 points over and over and over again. And thankfully Blankenship made all of his field goals, but sooner or later it's going to come back to bite us. And it very well could be this weekend against Cleveland, because Cleveland, like we said, they've got a high powered offense, and they've been putting points on the board at quite a high rate. So
right.
That's I think that's priority one for me, and they know, the Colts know what their issues are. It's not like they're not they don't know what's going on or they don't see the stats. They're the ones in the game. But at the same time, we do need to start seeing some more improvement. So red zone efficiency, I think, is priority one.
Just go ahead and add third down play. Period.
Yeah,
so bad.
We haven't been executing on third down as well. I thought there were some situations yesterday where we got into third and long where we very easily could have had different play calls that maybe would have helped out with that. But
yeah, you've got play calling mentioned here, and there were a lot of, even third and long, anything over 5 yards you could say is third and long, or over
I'd
third
say
and
third and
six.
seven.
Third and seven is where it starts, and we're dropping. We're throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. In a day that putting screens in the short passes hadn't been working all day. It just didn't make any sense to me. I got people with me, my family watching, that don't know football. They're like, why are we throwing the ball 2 feet when we got to go 10 yards?
So I think part of the reason on that is we did run quite a bit on second down. I feel like yesterday, Frank,
I agree.
We started out and we throw, and whether it was an incompletion or even if we did get a short completion, we would run on second down, and a lot of times we would end up in third and long situations where you're forcing Phillip Rivers to make a play. Now, so again, for like the fourth week in a row, we were talking about our red zone or our third down efficiency as well. That has to be better. Our offensive line, honestly, if I'm being honest, I mean, they didn't play like the best offensive line in football.
They had a tough game yesterday.
The Pro Football Focus rankings, the first 4 weeks of the year, it's kind of showed what I've felt internally. I think in run blocking, they're ranked 15th as a unit, and in pass blocking, they're 13th, or maybe those two are flipped. I'm not exactly sure. But a lot of times yesterday, I was thinking to myself, man, this offensive line isn't getting the push that I'm accustomed to seeing. I saw 2 or 3 plays where Quentin Nelson got pushed back or got blown up on the play.
He's not having a Quentin Nelson year this year.
So far, he hasn't been, and there were times where I think yesterday, Phillip Rivers got pressured a little bit more than he has all season. Now, granted, you have Braden Smith went up against Khalil Mack, who is one of the best pass rushers in the game.
Sure.
So obviously he's going to be a handful, and I think Braden Smith, for the most part, held his own. But there were definitely some times where Khalil Mack was able to get pressure on Phillip Rivers. We had the one where that tip ball that almost got intercepted. That one, the football gods were looking down on the Colts on that one.
Wow. Twice too.
Right. But there was a couple times where it just didn't seem, and I was tweeting about it during the game, Phillip Rivers just didn't seem like he had the ability to step up in the pocket, or he didn't have the time that he really needed to go through his progressions like he has the past couple weeks even.
Yeah, he got forced out of the pocket multiple times yesterday. I think leading up to the year, he had only been forced out once.
Something to that effect.
Up to that game, I'm sorry.
So yeah, I mean so the offensive line I think needs to get better, or just we need to see better production out of the offensive line. There were a couple drop passes. I didn't see any from T.Y. Hilton. T.Y., when he had his chance to make plays, he made some good plays. But Rivers missed him a couple times. There were a couple big drops by Zach Pascal. Trey Burton in his first game back, he dropped a couple, which I mean if he's been out for 4 weeks, that might be a little bit understandable. But still, the offense was definitely not up to par of what we're used to or what we expect from a Colts team that we know is not going to have a dominant offense. We still expect them to execute at a high rate, and frankly, they just didn't do that yesterday.
Or a little more efficiently, at least. Phillip Rivers, 16 out of 29, by far his worst percentage day. Definitely dropped him down. He was on pace to kind of smack the crap out of Drew Brees' percentage record for a single season, but yesterday definitely put a hurt on it. Only 190 yards, and 1 touchdown. Like you said, Phil missed some guys yesterday.
He did. And some of it he blatantly missed, like that one to T.Y. Hilton across the middle. If he hits T.Y. in stride, that goes for probably 40, 50 yards.
Yep.
T.Y. had nobody on that side of the field, and that really ate it at Phil. In the red zone, there was one where it got called an interception when he tried to throw it up to Mo Alley Cox. Got called back because the guy was standing out of bounds, but then he goes over the middle to Zach Pascal, and I remember it just sails right over his head. There were a couple with Trey Burton. Now, it did seem like they were maybe trying to feed Trey Burton a little bit. I don't know if that was by design with Frank Reich's play calling, or if that was just Phil wanting to get him going since he got back, but some of them seemed a little bit forced, to me at least.
Couple good first downs by Mr. Burton.
Yeah, he had a couple good catches, but at the same time, I don't think we needed to go out of our way to really get him involved. I feel like that should come naturally through the progression of the game.
Almost felt like Kirk Cousins trying to feed Adam Thielen against us a few weeks ago.
There were a couple like that, yes. But so definitely Phil's worst game as a Colt. Now, it's not a terrible game, I would say.
Right.
But it was just average, especially what we've seen the past couple weeks, where him being incredibly efficient, being able to move the chains, being incredibly accurate. He did miss on some yesterday. So, and Phil even talked about it after the game that he needs to clean that stuff up. He's got a few throws that he'd like to have back, especially the one to T.Y. But I was very encouraged that while T.Y. didn't have the biggest receiving game, whenever he was called upon and the ball was put in a position where he could make a play, he did make a play. So that was at least something encouraging. And I guess if we have to say one good thing about Phillip Rivers is there was a couple that were very, very close to turnovers, but no turnovers from Phillip Rivers, which is always good. And then finally, I guess we can wrap up the offense. We already talked about it. Trey Burton returned. He had 2 catches for 16 yards. Now, looking at the percentages of the snaps, I think this will give the fans and kind of give people an idea of how the Colts are going to be using their tight ends, especially with Jack Doyle back healthy, and Mo Alley Cox ascending to a level where the Colts can really count upon him. And he was the one that got the touchdown yesterday. So He's still out there making plays. So I think Jack Doyle had about 64% of the snaps. Trey Burton had about 50%. And then Mo Alley Cox had maybe about 46%. I think those are rough general numbers, but you get it. It looks like the Colts really think, and so far it's been proven true. They've got 3 viable options at tight end,
right?
Which makes us dangerous. There were plenty of times where it was a 3 tight end set, whether they're running the ball or as a play action or going to the pass. And when you have 3 good weapons, a Jack Doyle who's reliable as ever, Trey Burton an incredible route runner and mismatch, and then Mo Alley Cox, your deep threat and a guy that can sky and get the ball. All 3 of them just excel in various areas that are different from one another, and it makes the Colts very, very tough to guard in the tight end position, which I think once Burton and Doyle get back into the swing of things, is going to just make this offense more dangerous and help Phillip Rivers out even more.
Well, and then add 2 more real good receivers who are going to be coming back from injury hopefully later this year, and Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell. And I mean, Phillip Rivers has a hell of a toolbox.
We'll see about Paris Campbell.
Right. Yep. So, little fun fact for you, Andrew. I heard this weekend. Now, I can't remember which President Bush this extends back to, but since I think it's old Bush, maybe it was Bush, George W.'s first term.
George W. I saw this stat.
The Colts play every election year. Right,
Colts play the Bears every election year.
They also play the Bears every election year, but we do play every election year. So anyway, the Colts play the Bears every election year.
Every presidential election year, we should
correct, presidential election year. And since George W., I believe, 100% prediction rate. If the Bears won, the Democratic candidate won, and if the Colts won, the Republican candidate has won.
That is true.
Colts won.
We'll see if that holds true, and if we have if Trump wins in November, we'll have to see.
We'll find out.
It was pretty interesting to see that stat. I saw that as well. That's pretty cool.
It's very wild. Injuries, very, very worrisome. Hopefully nothing serious. Linebacker Darius Leonard injured his groin, did not come back after the first half. Frank Reich says they will need to monitor him the next couple of days.
So he did talk to the media this afternoon. There is still a chance that Darius Leonard plays this weekend. So all things considered, that's pretty good. Normally, if it's a groin strain, like with Kenny Moore in training camp, Wright came out right away and said that Kenny's going to miss some time. So he was out for a couple weeks. There is still a chance that Darius plays. It just kind of how this injury responds. So he's not ruled out yet, but definitely one of the injuries this week that needs to be monitored for sure.
Sorry, that sounded like you still had more to say. Linebacker Bobby Okereke, thumb, will require a procedure. Colts will evaluate throughout the week.
Yeah, so he had a procedure on his thumb today. It did require surgery, but again, he's not ruled out for this weekend against the Browns. With a linebacker, a thumb injury, linebackers don't really use their thumbs that much. I mean, if they can put a club on, it's not like he's going to be catching the ball all weekend. Right. He just needs to be able to tackle. So from what I've heard, the procedure went well. And again, it's just we're so early in the week. It's just kind of how things respond towards the end of the week to determine if these guys are going to be ready for Sunday.
Pretty good game by Bobby Okereke as well.
Yeah, he came in. Now, when Darius went out with his injury, he didn't come in for Darius per se. What they do is they move Anthony Walker over to that will linebacker position, which is the de facto kind of main linebacker position in this Colts defense, and then Bobby Okereke slides in at the mic. So and Anthony Walker had a great game yesterday, led the Colts in tackles. I think he had 11, so he did a hell of a job filling in for Darius Leonard.
And Anthony Costanzo, kind of a surprise this week. Rib, Colts evaluating throughout the week. We really don't know much on this.
No, and Frank Reich didn't really even go into detail about it. Again, it's one of those injuries that too early to tell. It doesn't sound too serious if he still has a chance to play. Looking at the snap count, I didn't even notice that Costanzo missed any snaps, but he played 4 less snaps than everybody, so maybe it was towards the end of the game that it happened. That I'm unsure of. But the Colts, I think out of those 3, Anthony Costanzo is the most important because we'll be going up against Myles Garrett and a defensive line in the Browns that loves to get after the quarterback. So we need everybody healthy protecting Phillip Rivers, and Anthony Costanzo on the blind side is probably priority number 1.
Yeah, for sure. Cornerback Rock Ya-Sin leg left the game in the 4th. Reich said today he should be good to go. My brother, while Rock is sitting on the ground, Rockya sitting on the ground too much.
Jesus. Reich said actually that if they needed him to come back in for that last series, that he could have.
Realistically, we did not.
We really didn't. So Rock's good to go. He'll be fine. He'll be starting. Should be starting next Sunday.
EJ Speed elbow needs a scan.
So yeah, But the thing with, I mean, we don't know how serious that is, but that's 3 linebackers on this injury report that came up injured, and combine that with Matthew Adams being out on IR too. So that's 4 of our 7 linebackers that are dealing with injuries. So linebacker depth really got hurt this week.
TJ Carey, hamstring, hurt it in practice last week. I didn't even realize that. I might have missed that one, or we talked about it.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
He didn't play in this game Sundays, and which he's been doing a great job filling in for Rock Ya-Sin. So just something to monitor. I don't know if it's going to be a multiple week thing, but if a corner goes down, he's usually the first one up. So
Michael Pittman Jr. officially put on IR. Wide receiver Marcus Johnson elevated to the active roster, I believe, after that move. Great catch, great first down during that game, during Sunday's game.
He had one hell of a play.
Sure
it was
did.
A big 3rd down play, and it extended the drive. And so, I mean, he's got familiarity with this offense. He was with us last year. He was with us all training camp. So, with the Colts wide receiver injuries, I mean, next man up. These guys have come in. Him, Darius Fountain, they've come in and they've performed well and been able to step up. So, good to see Marcus Johnson make a good play.
And that's it on the Colts this week.
Man, all in all, great game. Especially on the defensive side.
It was not a fun game to watch just as a football fan.
I mean, if you love dominating defense performances, then absolutely it was.
I like good defense.
You like? You're an offensive fan.
I like a 20s, low 30s football game. You know, with maybe because of some good defensive scores. Okay, like last week was fun.
Yeah, I definitely think the Colts are going to face their biggest test off defensively, though, with this Browns.
Luckily,
this Browns offense.
And Chubb is not going to be playing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I got that.
That helps.
The injuries later, but
we'll talk about that. Yes,
best best offense coming up, but and then hopefully our offense can kind of match some of that and be better and rebound. So overall, hey, 3-1 after the first quarter of the season, not too bad.
Absolutely. So let's move it along to games around the league. Let's start off Thursday night. The Broncos beat the Jets 37-28 in the most pitiful football game I think I've ever watched.
Poor Sam Darnold, man.
First, you're right. Poor Sam Darnold, but also what a run by Sam Darnold for the first touchdown of the game.
Boy's got some wheels.
Holy shit. My cousin James is with us in Tennessee, and I'm just looking at him like, buddy, you guys are in for a long night. He's a big Broncos fan. Yeah, the Jets thought about winning the game and said, nah, better not.
Pierre Desir gave up that touchdown to Jerry Jeudy, and a hell of a lot more catches, but then he has a toe tip along the sidelines for an interception, and then he returns a pick six. So complete opposite ends of the spectrum in one game for Pierre Desir.
For sure. Bengals beat the Jaguars. Joe Burrow gets his first win. Thank you, Joe Burrow. Love to see the Jags lose.
Absolutely. Jags go to 1-3. Wish it was 0-4 and we were 4-0, but good job for Joe Burrow. Got that first dub in the NFL.
The Browns put up an insane amount of points against the Cowboys, whose defense is not good. Let's just remember that.
Man, that's not good.
49 points. Odell Beckham Jr. looked like Odell Beckham Jr. again. Also, my cousin James said, you know what? I'm going to start OBJ this week for the first time all season. Paid off.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Hey, Dak Prescott, he's making himself a lot of money.
On pace for
6,700
on pace
yards.
to break Peyton's record. Yep, that's two people trying to break Peyton's record.
6,700 yards. That's over 1,000 yards more than what Peyton has. That's absurd. This dude is on a roll.
1,200, I believe. Saints beat the Lions. Thank God. Drew Brees looked like Drew Brees. Apparently, all 5 of those touchdowns, aside from one, were about 75 yards or more.
Really?
Really good offensive drives. Yep. Seahawks, Dolphins. Seahawks looked ugly early, but they ended up beating the Dolphins 31-23. Vikings beat the Texans. Dumpster fire in Houston. Absolute dumpster fire.
0-4 Houston Texans. It's not good down there. We'll talk about the other news that happened today. Houston, you have a problem.
I'm off the Cardinals bandwagon. Those sons of bitches. The Panthers win 31-21. Teddy Bridgewater's pretty good at football still.
Man, Matt Rule is, I've heard multiple, I don't know if this is their team slogan or whatever, but I've heard multiple players on the Panthers say we have a tough-ass football team. So I think Matt Rule,
love that.
He's always been about toughness in his rebuilding projects in college. He's really changing the culture with this organization. He's going to be a good coach. He was actually on the short list when the Colts were hiring for a head coach. Matt Rule was one of Ballard's guys that he wanted to kind of
interesting.
So
I did not know that.
Yeah, good for him.
Panther, nope, just said that. Buccaneers 38, Chargers 31. Justin Herbert's
going to be special.
Two real good duels with two real good quarterbacks.
Be special.
Oh God, I just said Tom Brady was real good. He did have a good game. Buccaneers pulled off. Ravens back to action, 31-17 against the Washington football team.
Good rebound after a very piss poor performance against the Chiefs. They needed this one for sure. So they looked like the old Ravens to me.
Rams still undefeated. Nope, I'm sorry, they lost last week to the
Bills.
The Bills. So they've still got one loss. Did not look great against the Giants, but I mean, that's a week you can take off, get a little extra rest.
A win's a win in the NFL.
That's right. That's what I was talking about with the Colts. Bills still undefeated. There we go. That's right. Against the Raiders, 30-23.
Josh Allen is an MVP candidate.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
You know who's not?
Who?
Kyler Murray.
He hasn't looked great the past couple of weeks. I think it's Russell Wilson.
Little bastard.
Russell Wilson still number 1. Aaron Rodgers 2, and I'd put Josh Allen up there as
he's got to be number 3.
2A, right there with Aaron Rodgers.
That's fine.
He's looked phenomenal.
That's fine. Dak Prescott could be in there if they could win football games.
Yeah.
Eagles. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Eagles are number 1 in the NFC East with a 1-2-1 record. The highly feared.
I think that deserves the other sound clip for how terrible that division is.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I got that question wrong. Anyway, boy, I love my board. The Eagles, 25-20 over the 49ers.
Man, CJ beat hard. Beathard just couldn't have it in him to come back and bring the 49ers to the victory.
Mullins looked bad. Any talks about Garoppolo not having his job when he comes back, gone.
Get out of here.
So that's the games this week.
There's two tonight.
Two tonight.
There was one on right now.
One right now.
Recording.
Yeah, Andrew's got me in this prison with no TV. No. Yep. So we got Pats and Chiefs playing right now.
Chiefs.
If you didn't immediately go hammer the Chiefs as soon as you heard Cam Newton was out, sorry about you. But yeah, and then Packers. Are you pointing at my nose or do you got an itch?
I got an itch.
Okay, gee, many Christmas. I keep going, do I have something in there, Andrew? The Packers play the Falcons. Should be a dumpster fire of a game. Injuries around the league. Jamal Adams, Rutrow, Seahawks safety growing week to week.
Yeah, he was out this week. And I think it was definitely noticeable within the Seahawks defense. He's obviously a top safety in the league, so we'll have to monitor that and see if it really causes the defense of the Seattle Seahawks to suffer. And then La'el Collins for the Cowboys, he had hip surgery this past week and he's out for the season. So just another blow to a Cowboys team that's really, really struggling right now.
And then Browns running back Nick Chubb, MCL injury, headed to IR, expected to miss 6 weeks, which includes next weekend against the Colts.
Big implications. Now, when Nick Chubb went out, I mean, the Bears continued to run the ball very well.
The Browns did.
So they still have Kareem Hunt. They had another guy, I don't know his name, but he did very well. So the Browns can still run the ball, but I definitely think it's going to affect them not having a Pro Bowl running back there anymore as well. So.
This is going to hurt the Chargers running back Austin Eckler, hamstring strain, headed IR, out at least a month. And this probably doesn't matter at all. Buccaneers running back LaShawn McCoy, ankle sprain week to week.
I mean, it's another weapon for Tom Brady. So.
I know, but what's that one guy on his team right now that's playing so well out of the backfield?
I don't know. I haven't watched too many of the Buccaneers.
It's a rookie, I think. I don't remember his name, but anyway,
they've got
he's
5
having a good
million
season.
running backs.
Yeah.
It seems like
5 million running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. They got it all. Michael Evans, welcome back to the NFL, bud. Oh my God, thank goodness.
He's injured every other week, so give it till next week.
Give it till practice again. Wednesday. Other news around the league: Steelers versus Titans game was postponed to Week 7, October 25th, after another player and personnel for the Titans test positive for COVID-19. That's 10 players. 10 personnel have tested positive.
Not a good week for the Tennessee Titans.
Or the Steelers. Are the Steelers losing a bye week out of this?
The week 4 is the bye week for the Steelers now this past week. Now, this is hilarious.
That's bullshit.
I know, but Mike Tomlin was asked, how do you guys feel about having your bye week switch to week 4 and having to play for 12 straight weeks? And I quote, he said, "We do not care."
Oh, jeez.
Greatest quote. He said, "We do not care." This man.
I love Mike Tomlin.
Oh, I do too. He's one of the greatest coaches in the entire league.
We do not care.
We do not care.
I love that. But listen, it's not right. We have these 16-player practice squads for a reason.
But I think what they wanted to do is, since if everyone tested positive on the same day, and they were able to have it so it was more like they knew it was contained, I should say. But the thing is, it was multiple days of positive testing, and they didn't know when it was going to stop. Today was the first day that no Titan player or personnel tested positive. So even yesterday someone did. So what their goal is they want to make sure that they contain it, and they don't want to send anybody out there that could possibly spread it. So when was the Titans? When was the Titans bye,
and how is that affected? Was it?
So the Titans bye, I think it's going to be. I think they had the same bye as the Steelers. I thought it was like week 7.
Well, that's convenient.
So now the Steelers game against the Ravens is now pushed back to week 8 because the Ravens were going to have a bye week during that time, but they're able to push it to another week. I think they have, I don't know all the scheduling, but they were able to fix it where the Steelers, instead of having their bye week on week 8, or the Ravens were going to have a bye week either that week or wait the week before. Anyway, they figured it out in the schedule, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough break for the Titans and the Steelers, but at least
it's some real bullshit for the Steelers. But you know what? It could pay off for the Colts later on.
We do not care.
We do not care. This will move along here. Patriots, obviously, we just mentioned quarterback Cam Newton test positive for COVID-19. He was the only player to test positive. Patriots Chiefs rescheduled to play tonight, right now, as we're recording. What is this?
So now Brian Hoyer is now probably leading the Patriots to just an absolute mollywhopping.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, where's Jarrett Stidham? This savior of a man that was drafted.
Apparently he's a third-string quarterback for the Patriots.
The Patriots planned to start the whole time, blah, 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 blah.
Not looking good for Jarrett Stidham.
Where's the savior at? That Belichick was going to prove everybody wrong with. Whatever.
But hey, I mean,
no Vikings players testing positive after playing the Titans,
which is great news, by the way.
What? That's unbelievable.
It is.
That's great news.
I'm surprised that not at least one person tested positive, but hey, good for the Vikings. And look, they turned it into a win.
They did. Yeah, that's very true. Ravens signed cornerback Marlon Humphrey to a 5-year, $97.5 million extension.
That's a lot of money for a cornerback. He's one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league, and well-deserved. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Now we're getting to the news of the day.
Can I say it?
Go ahead, buddy.
Texans fire head coach and general manager Bill O'Brien after an 0-4 start. Romeo Crennel will be the interim head coach, and that just leaves Mr. Kirk Cousins saying,
"You like that? You like that?"
No more Bill O'Brien, which, as Colts fans, it honestly kind of sucks because I was enjoying seeing him destroy that franchise down there with every dumb move that he did.
He's the best coach the Colts have ever had. Second best.
Yeah, I was going to say second best. Give Tony Dungy some damn respect.
I mean, geez, he's bad.
The Texans have the highest payroll of any team in the league, and they don't have a first-round pick next year. And I don't know if they have a second-round pick next year. Bill O'Brien screwed
Miami owns their first and second picks for next year.
Not good. Not good situation in Houston.
Hilarious. Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah. So we'll see. We talk all this mess about him, and then when the Colts play him this year, watch them upset us or something stupid like that. But hey,
the Browns were kind of dangerous when Mr. Jackman, it was Jackman, right?
Hugh Jackman, yes.
Yeah, Jackman, not Jackson. Got fired a few years ago.
Wait, it is Hugh Jackson. Wait, is Hugh Jackman
the actor? Dude, we were watching Wipeout this all weekend. For some reason, a Wipeout was on the TV in Tennessee. And at one point, it was like the greatest of Wipeout. And the announcer looked like Hugh Jackman. I was like, what's Hugh Jackman on the TV on Wipeout?
So it's Hugh Jackson was the former Cincinnati Cleveland Browns head coach.
But they had a good ending to the season that year under Freddie Kitchens, which is a lot of the reason Freddie Kitchens got the job next year. So can't rest on the Houston Texans this year.
One thing we didn't mention when we were going over the games. Did you see what happened at the end of the Rams-Giants game?
No, I did not.
Jalen Ramsey and
I didn't see this. I heard about it.
Got into a fist fight after the game. Just started slinging punches. Now, the backstory behind this was Jalen Ramsey has 2 kids with Golden Tate's sister, and they had a very public and ugly breakup. And these two just started throwing hands, not with helmets on. They had their helmets off, but they started throwing hands in the middle of the field, and both teams had to the entire teams had to break them up. And then Jalen Ramsey, I heard, was waiting outside of the Giants locker room, ready for round 2 with Golden Tate, and they had to restrain him and kind of get him away from that area. But that's pretty wild. I forgot to mention that.
I'm not sure Golden Tate has much of a fighting chance against Jalen Ramsey if nobody breaks that up.
He's a pretty big dude, especially for a cornerback anyway. Yeah. But yeah.
Right. That's wild. Moving on. Last section here. Colts Player of the Week now. Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and let you announce this, but first, I do want to say, this weekend watching the game, I said, you know what? I never in my life thought there would be another defensive end playing for the Colts where I'd say, that's the scariest looking dude I've ever seen after Robert Mathis. This man is right up there.
This man is very scary, a very terrifying human being. And Justin Houston is the Colts Player of the Week this week. The dude had another sack that puts his total up to 3.5 for the year in 4 games. So just off to a monster start. He had 4 tackles, 2 QB hits, 2 tackles for a loss, making plays all over the field. You could also make a case for Julian Blackmon with how well he played, and also DeForest Buckner. It seems like DeForest Buckner is making plays and pressures every single week. But this week it goes to Justin Houston, well deserved. And who's this? The people that said this guy was over the hill, man, were you wrong? This man is
real wrong,
on a tear, and thank God he's an Indianapolis Colt.
Love him. One of my favorite segments of the week there, where Andrew says player of the game and continues to name 3 to 5 players.
Those are honorable mentions. You get it.
Alrighty, guys, that's it for this week. Please go subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, review it, all that fun jazz. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Please listen on YouTube. Go follow us at the Eh-Ducated Fan. That's at TheEhducatedFan. You know the rules. That's it, guys. We appreciate you. Andrew, I won't make fun of you right here at the very end again.
I'm sorry. I want to apologize for my girlfriend for losing our bet this weekend. As a Bears fan, it was a tough weekend for her. But hey, Colts won, America won,
and I got engaged. Have a good week.
Peace.
I fucking love football, and I love you guys.